We took a one-week cruise in Alaska followed by a land tour. We took the last cruise of the year in September. Being the last cruise meant fewer tourists, but most places were still open. The weather was colder too. We chose the northbound inside passage from Vancouver to Whittier near Anchorage. Here are the details. We stopped at Ketchikan, Juneau and Skagway and cruised in Glacier Bay. We then took the train to Denali. Vancouver is beautiful and worth spending a couple of days. Our ship sailed out late afternoon. Our room was big and comfortable with an attached private balcony. You definitely want a balcony to catch the gorgeous views. Our first stop was Ketchikan, the salmon capital of the world. But before checking out the town and the salmon, we decided to take a scenic seaplane flight to the Misty Fjords National Park. The planes were right next to the dock. We bought our tickets and boarded. The small plane took off and flew over the mountains and into the Misty Fjords National Park. The views were breathtaking. The air was so clear that you could see for miles. I would highly recommend doing this. We flew over waterfalls, lakes and glaciers. We saw mountain goats on steep hillsides. We landed in a lake and walked around before heading back. We walked along historic Creek Street, past famous Dolly's house and then uphill next to the stream. We saw the salmon migrate upstream, jumping over the rapids and small waterfalls. It was an unforgettable sight. Back in town we headed for the center, which was hopping with lots of small bars, restaurants and shops. We went to a restaurant and bar with live music. We sailed out that evening. Beautiful sunset from our balcony. Early the next morning we saw whales. They were hard to see and photograph until they came closer. We started the day by taking a kayaking trip in the bay. We had booked this in advance. It was a fun and exciting couple of hours. We then took a local bus and hiked the last mile to the Mendenhall Glacier. We saw a sloth on a tree while hiking. At the end of the hike, we spent some time at the spectacular Nugget Falls. Back in town we headed to a popular local bar for live music and dinner. Leaving Juneau, the moon was bright. The next morning we get off at Skagway, a town built during the gold rush and the getaway to the Klondike. Now tourists head to the Yukon territories in Canada. You can take a scenic train or bus ride to the beautiful Yukon. We took the bus, which gave us more time to stop and explore. The scenery is gorgeous. Back in the ship, we saw puppies training to be sled dogs. We spot a family of bears on the shore as we head out. Another gorgeous sunset. As we enter Glacier Bay, we go past seals sitting on icebergs. We get closer and closer to the massive glaciers. It's an unforgettable experience. The massive walls of ice broke off and fell into the ocean. We sailed past hundreds of icebergs. It is the most dramatic scenery that I had ever seen. The next day we cruised through College Fjord, seeing more glaciers. We then headed to Whittier to begin the land part of our trip. By train, bus and finally driving in Fairbanks to the Arctic Circle to chase the northern lights. Look out for my next video on that part of the trip. Like and subscribe to get notified of new content.